I'm sorry to hear that you or whoever you're asking this question for is going through a hard time. But I'm optimistic because there's a lot of tools available that we're going to get into here. So always my favorite topic is adaptions and tonic herbs. So why don't we start there? So some of my favorites in this department would be reishi and ashwagandha, holy basil, rhodiola, and St. John's wort. Those are all really great for stress and anxiety and for helping with brain health. Another one I would throw in there is lion's mane, because an unhealthy brain is not going to be very good necessarily at feeling really happy and stress-free. And it's kind of it goes both ways, right? If you're stressed and anxious and depressed, it's going to have a negative effect on the health of your brain. If you have an unhealthy brain, that's going to cause you to be more stressed and anxious and depressed. So if you can get in there and stop that cycle, which some of these herbs have the ability to help out with, that can really set you off in a better direction. And there's other directions to look at it as well. I mean, I love the Wim Hof method here too. The effect that this has on one's mental state is amazing. The combination of the breathing practice combined with the cold exposure. If you're dealing with a tough chapter in life from a mental perspective, I would highly recommend checking out their online training programs. It's very, very powerful stuff. And I'll put a link to a video that I made all about my experience with this. I didn't have the anxiety and depression, but this will just give you a bit of a taste of what the whole thing's like and how it works. And I can't recommend it highly enough. Neurofeedback is another tremendous one. Running a business is stressful. Running a business comes with inherent anxieties. The last couple of years I've gone through like some pretty intense times. And the most powerful thing that I found personally was neurofeedback. So you could search out a neurofeedback practitioner in your area and embark upon that. Some people really feel a difference instantaneously. Some people, you got to do it for, maybe 10 or 20 sessions, but it has a real ability to retrain pathways in the brain and get you to a healthier brain state and build healthier patterns into the way that your brain operates. And of course, therapy can help with these as well, and working with a licensed therapist. Now, another direction to look at this from would be hormones. If your hormones are totally out of whack, your brain's not going to be healthy either, and you could be feeling totally down because you're just not producing hormones at the level that you should be. And hormones, they affect everything going on in your body. So having a full hormone panel could totally shed light on a lot of the underlying causes that could be at play here. So I would suggest that, and then once you see what's going on there, okay, then you can strategize on changes that might be made to lifestyle, to diet, to supplementation, etc., that would support a life with healthier hormones. Having long-chain omega-3s in your diet for supporting mental health is huge. I don't know what your diet is like. I don't know if you're a vegan, paleo. I don't know what you supplement with. But I think it's very few people who don't supplement with omega-3s are really getting enough. And we have so commonly in our diet omega-6s and plant-based omega-3s, but these don't convert very effectively to the long-chain omega-3s. These are the short-chain. They don't convert very effectively to the long-chain that you really want, the EPA and DHA that you would get from fish oil, krill oil, or algae oil. So getting those supplementarily, I think, is a really good idea. Magnesium is also very important for the anxiety side of things. I would especially look at magnesium L-threonate, which is a special kind of magnesium, only became available a couple of years ago, that is actually able to cross over the blood-brain barrier. And you might find it's a little bit expensive out there. Look for a company called Magtein, M-A-G-T-E-I-N. And so these are the guys that invented it. I think it's out of MIT, if I remember correctly. And so they sell it then to a bunch of other companies who also sell Magtein. But so like you'll see, various different supplement companies will sell their own Magtein, so it'll have their company name, and then it'll say Magtein underneath. But if you just look for the one on Amazon, that's just Magtein, no other company name, that is has nothing else added to it, and it's really the best price. So that's just my market research out there, price wise. Also, B vitamins is a tremendous one. Lots of people dietarily are not fulfilling their needs for B vitamins. So you may want to look at a dietary shift or a supplement in that department. Then the next thing I would want to talk about is heavy metals. We're all exposed to heavy metals in the modern world. It's not something you can completely escape from. It's everywhere. So I would highly recommend working with a practitioner who specializes in chelation therapy, and that way you can do your first round of chelation with them, either with EDTA, DMSA, or DMPS, and from that you can get an understanding of what your heavy metal levels are. Maybe you have really high mercury or really high aluminum that are messing with your brain. All kinds of stuff can be going on. I can almost guarantee you're going to have some kind of heavy metals that you need to deal with, and through safely detoxifying those through a well-established protocol that involves mobilization, chelation, and then replenishing good minerals and making sure it's all swept out correctly. And this would be cycles of about 2 weeks, a week prep, a day of chelation, and a week of recovery. And you cycle that as long as the practitioner deems necessary, and you test at regular intervals to see how fast they're dropping and see when you're ready to take a break or when you need to just really keep going for a while. So that's huge. Another thing would be optimizing your gut health. I'll put a link to a whole video going in depth about that. But the gut is known as the second brain. When you feel anxiety, you probably feel it more here in your gut than you even do in your brain, right? So let's take care of what's going on down here. And that comes through probiotics, it comes through prebiotics, it could come through phage therapy. So many ways to go about this, but you kind of put them all together and you have a diet that's really healthy for your gut, and take things like ion biome that help to seal up the tight junctions in the gut and create a healthier environment there for the good bacteria to settle in. And in the gut is where you're producing the lion's share of your serotonin, which is your happiness chemical. If your serotonin's low, it could be the perfect day out in the world and you're going to be bummed. If your serotonin's high, everything could be going wrong and you're still going to be optimistic and working on trying to find solutions to the problems. So that is on its own, just optimizing gut health so you can be making all these healthy neurotransmitters is tremendous. Then vitamin D is another important one here. Get your vitamin D levels up to in the 50s or 60s, maybe even up to 70. And you can do that through getting out in the sun. But this time of year, like for example, here in Southern California, there's only a 3-hour window in the middle of the day when you can even make any vitamin D. And if you're further north, forget about it. So this time of year, in almost all locations in North America, you're going to be wanting to supplement with a good amount of vitamin D3 combined with K2, so your body utilizes the extra calcium that you're going to absorb correctly. And this has a tremendous effect on your hormones. It has a tremendous effect on your brain, on your immune system. And in conjunction with that, getting morning sun can also be very helpful. It's not going to do you for the vitamin D at this time of year, but just getting and being exposed to that level of bright light that you're never going to find indoors is very powerful as well. And last but not least would be exercise. Get into doing some high intensity interval training, something that really pushes you, and that can have a powerful effect as well. So I hope that helped. And I just want to say one more thing about the exercise actually. Part of why exercise is so good in this department, because ancestrally, the primary cause for anxiety would be that you were threatened by an animal or that some rival wanted to fight you. And those activities were generally both immediately followed by a high intensity exercise, either fighting them or running away. And after that, and that was how you burn off that stress, and then you shake it off, and then you move on with your life. We don't always do that anymore, because if you're having a conflict with somebody, it's no longer socially acceptable to punch them in the face. And when we are threatened by somebody, rarely do we physically, just sprint right away. It's just not the structure of our modern life that we don't respond to direct stressors in that way, right? Like if you have a stressful phone call with somebody, you don't go start punching a boxing bag, or you don't go sprint outside probably, but your body is craving that as a way to move on. And it's the natural steps that ancestrally you've been programmed to follow, and we've just removed this step and injecting that back in a safe way that doesn't involve violence against others and is totally harmless. It's probably a really good idea. So I hope some of these will end up being useful for you, and I hope the sun starts shining brighter in your world, physically and metaphorically, very, very soon.